And good day to social media. How's everything going out there, folks? Starting to be a hot one here again. Just a little bit of overcast, not too bad. Is that pine tree we got? It's about 5 feet shorter. It's about 20-some feet high. In 9 years of living here, one pine cone. It just fell off. And there's no more on it. Strange, huh? So me and Debbie got our own little pine cone here. Anyway, I want to talk about Hempsavedme.com. Tracy Morgan Gibson, I send everybody to her and tell you that these hemp products work. They're good. They average 0.03%. 0.03% of 1% THC content. That's hemp. Low THC, no buzz, okay? In Maryland, when she got her shipment, drug-sniffing dogs got a hit. Some of the products contain THC levels of 0.06, double the normal THC content, yet still below 1%, 0.06 of 1%, okay? Little tiny 1%, this is little tiny 0.06 right here. They confiscated everything. They basically shut her frickin' business down over a negligible amount of THC that would not get a baby high. People do not respond to THC as psychoactivities until it reaches 5 to 10%. At 0.06%, figure 6% is 100 times stronger. Just 6% THC would be 100 times what they found in her hemp products. Now, medical marijuana that gives us a buzz runs from 10 to 30%. At 0.03, 30% is what? 1,000 times stronger. So it's illegal to have 1,000 times. But you break it down to 500, it's ignorant, okay? The Maryland police, I think, have screwed with the wrong person. Tracy is going to get a lawyer that's out of Colorado, and she's going to fight it. They're going to fight this. AON, Mother Nature. I depend on her products. My wife depends on her products. My wife's friend with ovarian cancer back east depends on these products. Tracy herself and her child need and utilize this stuff for their health. And they do not get fucking high. Everybody has got to get this shit out of your head that THC, no matter what the percentage, is going to make you a drug-addled fucking walking zombie. Eat shit and die. Anti-weed Nazis, weediots, weed-ignorant motherfuckers, listen up. 0.06 of 1%. Okay? Back in the 70s, I used to get high off of 5% THC. Now it's 17.5 times stronger. And my pain levels is so high that I smoke 29 to 30% THC strains and I never feel a buzz. I don't feel a buzz off my morphine. My Seroquel actually hits me and makes me sleepy. My morphine, all it does is it takes my pain from here to here. Marijuana brings me down to here. If I don't hit this level, I don't feel euphoria from the opiates or the weed. My Seroquel / Quetiapine, different name, brand name, generic name, Seroquel and Quetiapine, same thing. I take one 250 milligram capsule and it puts me down for a nap. I take 1.5 at night with 50 milligrams of amitriptyline and 30 milligram morphine if I need it, which I don't always, because the Seroquel helps me get to sleep. So I don't even need to use all of my opiates every day, depending on my pain level. Right now, stress has me up there, as well as my shower. I just got out, shower, and shave. Even my sweat's burning my scalp. Because it's like 87, 88 degrees. Supposed to be in the hundreds again. Arizona winter. What can I say? So I wanted to bring up Tracy and hempsaveme.com. Keep watching for the store to open back up. They've refunded everybody's money that had an order yesterday that hasn't been shipped. They're refunding all their money today. They have no product to sell. The police confiscated everything because Maryland has a 0% tolerance on THC. 0.03%, 0.06%, doesn't matter to them. They want a 0.000000 THC from hemp. And guess what? It will never fucking happen. Do you understand me? It will never happen. Hemp stays low, below 1% THC. You would have to drink 30 bottles of her oil to even feel the THC in it. If you do, and if your stomach lets you get that far with all the ingredients in it, because it's syrupy. It's got syrups in it, to thicken it up, glycerin, stuff like that, terpenes. And I just posted today about the police dogs. And this one Texas police officer, ex-police officer, blew the lid off the canines. The drug-sniffing dogs are trained with positive reinforcement. If I find this, it makes my owner happy. That's what dogs do. That's what makes them man's best friend. Now, when you teach the dog, they would put marijuana inside a tennis ball so that the dog would associate the marijuana with the tennis ball. And you'd find the tennis ball by the scent of marijuana. But what people don't understand and what they don't tell you is that the ball itself, the dog smells it. Dogs smell 25 times more than humans. Get out of there, bug. And in an effort to make their handler happy, so he praises him for being a good boy or girl, he will find something that smells like a tennis ball. And that is a false positive that they will tear your car apart looking for something that doesn't exist. Why? Because the dog wanted the tennis ball. That's the reinforcement he had. You understand? And plastic baggies. The dog smells the plastic too. It said in this post that dogs are, we smell stew. We don't smell the ingredients. Altogether, they make stew. That's what you smell. Dogs' smellers are so powerful that they smell the broth, the meat, the carrots, the onions, cabbage. I don't know who the hell puts cabbage in their stew, but that's what this article said. The dogs can smell all the individual parts of one conglomerate. That's why they can find cannabis inside of a gas tank, wrapped up in aluminum foil, and strong-smelling things like powdered bleach, all detergent, Tide detergent. The dogs will smell it. but they're not always smelling the marijuana. They're smelling the packaging. Because packaging smells to the dog. So whether it's a tennis ball rolled in marijuana or filled with marijuana, the dog has now associated the tennis ball, not just the marijuana. The tennis ball is positive reinforcement. So if you carry your tennis racket in your trunk and some balls and you go down to Mexico and come back across the border, that dog's going to make his owner happy by going, right here, right here, right here. He wants the ball. There's no pot. I'm very sorry to everybody for my language, but this is fucking ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous and unconscionable for these people to have this zero tolerance on hemp, 0% tolerance, when less than 1%, whether it's 0.03 or 0.06, doesn't make a difference in anybody's brain. Okay? We take hemp because it is legal. And it's been legal, mail order, in all states. These dogs probably got a hit off of the packaging. And this Texas ex-K9 officer blew the lid off. And it's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. What was it he said? I just had a thought and got it lost. Sorry. Had a shower today, burning up. Shoulders hurt. I'll probably remember it when I get back inside. Let me go inside. I'm going to go back over myths and crap again. Grab the handle back here so I don't lose this. Oh, God. Don't get old. Don't grow up. It's a trap. It's a trap. So actually, I'll probably find that article again on my phone. Let me see if I can find that. I'm going to pause you a second. Okay, so to continue, this is from a ex-cop. Barry Cooper, ex-narcotics officer in Texas. He's released a DVD called Never Get Busted Again, Volume 1, Traffic Stops. And he says he's made over 800 arrests, raided over 100 homes across Texas, bought and sold kilograms of coke undercover, trained 500 plus drug dog teams, and taught narcotics officers at various academies how to do the same. He says, I have worked joint operations with every agency imaginable, including the ATF, DEA, FBI, U.S. Customs, Border Patrol, and the U.S. military. During these endeavors, I became known as an expert in the field of drug detection and police canines. And I'm now releasing this information to you. He says, before training methods can be discussed, a short class in the canine ability to detect odors. This is not going to be myths today. It's going to be all this. Dogs have 25 times more smell receptors than humans. They have special sniffing cells deep in their snout that lets dogs outsmell humans. They can sense odors at concentrations nearly 100 million times lower than what we humans can. 100 million times more. That's what dogs smell. That's where I told you about the ball and the baggie. Okay, the dog associates the ball and the baggie with pot and the positive reinforcement. Find the ball or find the baggie, not just the marijuana. Okay, and anything else they use as a treat or a toy soaked in marijuana. If you take your own dogs down to Mexico and come back across the border with his chew toy, that can set off the drug dogs. And you're pulled to the side and your car is stripped. It's bullshit. So, 100 million times more than humans. A comparison. If you took all the sensory epithelial skin tissue in the average dog's nose, laid out flat, would cover an area of 450 square feet. And contained within this tissue are more than 200 million scent receptors, 15 million of which have infrared capability. Dogs see heat. They're in a black and white world, but they sense heat. They can smell fear. They can smell cancers. When I worked in the VA for a couple times when I was in the reserves, I'm very empathic. I felt everybody's pain. And I was in this ward for terminal patients, and like 3 people died that day. This one guy had brain cancer. I could smell it. It had a very peculiar odor, and I was like, God, what's wrong with this guy? Brain cancer. I found somebody else in the hospital that same day that had brain cancer. Same smell. So, imagine what dogs smell. They can smell what is wrong with you. That's why dogs sense when you're sick. And they will come and snuggle. Because they want to, you're part of the pack. They want to reassure you that it's okay and you'll get through it. That's what dogs do. Now, humans, if you took all of our scent receptors, skin tissue, laid out flat, it would only cover 2 square feet, as opposed to 450 square feet from a dog. You getting something here? And in the brain of the average dog, more than 12% of the cerebral tissue is devoted to processing olfactory information. In us, less than 1% of our brain is devoted to scent. Less than 1%. Tests have proven dogs can detect a drop of liquid in a 55-gallon barrel of water, and then you smelled cancer. They can also separate the odors, and that makes them a weapon in the unconstitutional war on the privacy of the U.S. citizen, the war on drugs. He says, when teaching other police this principle of odor separation, I would begin by stating, dogs smell like we see. And for example, the stew. Humans see the ingredients, but only smell the stew. The dog can smell everything else. They smell the mixed odors of potato, carrot, onion, pepper, salt, and even the container. Everything has an odor that dogs can pick up on, even when mixed with other smells. This is why masking odors does not work. While inspecting loads of seized weed, I always notice the smugglers wrap pounds of pot in elaborate mixtures in an attempt to fool the dogs. He says, I found pot wrapped in plastic, layered in mustard, followed by a tinfoil layer smeared with grease, rewrapped with more plastic, and finally blanketed with scented dryer sheets, and dropped into coffee grounds. A cop dog can easily separate all of these odors with a few sniffs and is communicating with his handler all the time. And if the dog could talk, it might say, I smell plastic, mustard, tinfoil, grease, dryer sheets, coffee, and marijuana. The dog alerts to the marijuana, and that's when people get busted. Some police, however, fail to properly guide the drug dog during an air sniff of a vehicle's exterior. After interviewing captured cartel members, I learned they had great confidence in their masking techniques because they had seen U.S. Border Patrol walk their dogs past a trunk full of sticky Mexican bricks without alerting. Must have been the packaging, right? No. Those people drew an inaccurate conclusion from an accurate observation. And the truth is, and many expert canine trainers agree, that only 1 out of 10 canine teams in America are efficient enough to reliably detect contraband. Said another way, most canine teams in the U.S. just suck at their job. So the load of green slipped past the police because of a poorly trained dog, not because of any special masking efforts used by the cartel smugglers. Another reason contraband is undetected by dogs, the handlers fail to present the drug-detecting dog to the permeating scent cones that emanate from the marijuana's hiding spot. The scent cone principle can be understood by answering this. How does it smell through metal, gas tank, gasoline, plastic PV, and detect the weed? Well, they can't smell through but odors permeate from everything, creating a scent cone outside any and all containers, and is generally accepted by working dog trainers, such as the military, Department of Defense, Customs, and Police, that over a period of time, scent emanates from a local static location up and outwards in a conical configuration called a scent cone, which can be distorted or influenced by heat, moisture, air current, sunlight, shade, and topographical features. So as you see, the transfer of smell is an exchange of actual molecules in the air, not a gas or vapor. Odor is the detectable, smellable evidence of molecular movement from solids and liquids into the atmosphere. To illustrate this principle during canine academies, I would place tuna fish in a plastic baggie and allow the students to take a whiff of the bag. The fish odor could not be detected at first. As decomposition hastens, the molecules move faster and the smell becomes more rank and offensive. That's why later in the day, when the tuna bag was passed around, the smell was detected. The molecules had passed through the pore of the plastic fabric of the baggie, creating an odor outside the bag. The very same thing happens when hiding your stash. The airborne molecules of cannabis passes through or permeates from their hiding spot, leaving a detectable scent cone near the contraband source. This is why a dog can alert cops to marijuana even when it's floating in a fuel tank, because over time, the odors create a scent cone outside the automobile of metal, gas, PVC, and marijuana. The dog will alert to the marijuana smell. So when traveling, he says, put your marijuana airtight container made of metal or dense plastic, Tupperware, just before you leave. It takes time, heat, motion, and vibration to develop a scent cone that rises from this source. Keep your joints hidden high up above your head and near the center of your vehicle, because weed attached to the bottom of the car or by the bumper is directly in the smell zone of the canine. A bad place to hide your stash. I'm not trying to tell people how to get through illegally. I'm giving you this is from a cop, an ex-cop. And of course, never have joints or roaches in the open, obviously, or in your ashtray glove compartment, which are the first places investigated during a brief consenting search. Now we understand how a canine separates odors. We can examine how they are trained. The first to remember is it's easy to train a drug dog, but hard to find the right dog to train. Police like to start with a canine at least 1 year old that has not grown out of the puppy stage of extreme energy and has an insane drive to chase thrown objects. Most dogs have this drive when they're young, decreases with age. But you've seen the type of the dog that does not stop jumping up and down enthusiastically, even in 100-degree weather, as his slobbery gnawed ball is thrown over and over again. The dog with puppy-like energy and an endless desire to play fetch. That's what cops want, a grown pooch with these characteristics. Once the dog with a desirable eagerness is chosen, the trainer simply scents a toy with marijuana and the training begins. The ball, which has many different odors, is thrown into tall grass and allowed to settle before the new cadet is released with the command of "Find it." The dog will locate the ball using its nose to seek out the odors attached to it. Not just the cannabis, the ball, the fiber on the ball, and the rubber of the ball. Puts out its own scent cone, along with the marijuana. So, by repeating this process, the dog learns to associate the toy with marijuana. And when a baggie of marijuana is hidden in a drawer and the dog passes the scent cone, he thinks his toy is nearby and begins to scratch. To encourage a stronger scratch, the handler begins using verbal commands such as "get it, get it, get it, get it out of there." This training process is very easy, resulting in most dogs learning to alert on the scent of marijuana in 1 day. The harder and more critical part of training that is overlooked by most canine teams is teaching the new marijuana-detecting dog to not alert on the ball, human, or any other odors attached to the marijuana-scented toy. Like I said, the ball, full of marijuana, the fibers, the yellow, whatever color fiber your tennis ball is, on the rubber, and the handler who held the ball and threw it. His scent is on the ball. The dog wants to find a toy and it smells like his master. You getting some pictures here? You see some shit here? So it says, let's go back to the Ziploc baggie placed in a drawer. The canine smells some marijuana and a baggie, so the handler should train the dog to not alert on Ziplocs because they are not contraband. If you have a Ziploc bag in your glove box for your dog's poop, the dog will hit that and you'll get pulled aside for no reason other than you had a dog toy in there. So the handler should train the dog. The Supreme Court has ruled the alert of a certified trained police dog is probable cause for a search. But our courts would be alarmed that most active canines alert on tennis balls, baggies, and handler odors because little or no discrimination training is conducted to keep him focused on the contraband alone. Thus, you could be searched because a dog alerted on legal items in your vehicle that it associates with marijuana. So let's discuss how unscrupulous police officers use these drug detecting animals to illegally search your car by using false alerts. When pulled over by the police, the driver does have the right to refuse consent to search their vehicle. Upon hearing a refusal to allow a search, the police have the right to bring a canine out to conduct a non-invasive air sniff of your exterior. But if the trained dog alerts on your auto, the police can then search without your permission. What if the cop leaned on your door and put his scent on your car? Or if he just ran his hand down the roof in the trunk as he walks back to his car parked behind you. His scent is there. The dog now associates that car with master. So, knowing this, police maintain a suspicion that you have narcotics will often command their dogs to false alert if the canine has not indicated the presence of drugs during the legitimate outside air search. A false alert is done simply by whispering the ball fetch command, get it out of there, which triggers the dog to begin scratching. Now that the dishonest handler has a visible canine alert for all to see, he announces, my trained drug detector dog has alerted to the odor of a narcotic, so we will now search your car without your permission. And if they find drugs, the police claim the canine is accurate. If no drugs are found, the police claim the dog must have alerted to residual drug odors. Either way, the unsuspecting motorist loses. Now, during thousands of hours of formal police training, I was bombarded with state and local laws and taught how to use these laws to jail American citizens. But during all that training, I never had an instructor ever speak of the U.S. Constitution and its importance regarding police conduct. How strange to be a fully licensed peace officer and have no idea what the Constitution said or meant, only being told about laws and how to use them against Americans. I slowly became disenchanted with law enforcement and realized the importance of maintaining the integrity of America's fundamental laws. I was very troubled by my years of police work, willingly trampling citizens' guaranteed protection against unreasonable searches and arrests, as outlined in the Fourth Amendment to the Bill of Rights. My first whistleblowing act can be seen when I explain what you have read here in the canine portion of my movie. It's cannabisculture.com. Never get busted again. Now let me get back to that. Back to there. He says, done a peace officer trampling citizens' right. Fourth Amendment. My whistleblowing act can be seen and explained in his canine portion of his movie. Viewers witness old videos of me making pullover busts and searches for marijuana, but also see a trained drug dog being taught how to false alert. As far as we know, this is the first time a drug dog has been filmed false alerting for the public to witness. My efforts to expose police abuses of power generated calls from criminal defense attorneys around the U.S. asking me to review the videos of canine searches that put their clients behind bars. Before long, I was testifying as an expert witness regarding these breaches of the Fourth Amendment. In my first attempt to expose the canine secrets in court, the DEA made an effort to block my testimony by faxing a highly sensitive document to a civilian in an attempt to harm my credibility. The information contained in that report outlines an operation I was involved with, and it compromised the safety of citizens named in the document. Just to get him to shut up, they alerted people they unfairly tagged other people in an effort to silence him. He says, the information contained in that report outlines the operation. The DEA is conniving and ruthless, especially when they have a personal grudge against you. Well, I've been bitching out about the DEA and Jeff Sessions and the frickin' Department of Justice, the ignorant assholes, weed-yet, anti-weed Nazis, weed-ignorant bastards. Get off medical marijuana. Start going after the fucking cartels. Why go after... Jeff Sessions said, I'm going after the medical marijuana patients. I'm sorry, but his fucking job is to go after the illegal drugs coming into this country from the cartels. So the Department of Justice didn't give him the funding to fuck with us, because it's unconstitutional. We're still covered under the 10th Amendment of the Bill of Rights. It's not just, it's maybe the last, but it's important because it's in the Bill of Rights. Speech, right to bear arms, the right not to incriminate yourself. I plead the 5th. Okay? The 4th Amendment, unlawful search and seizures. This guy Blue has blown it open that these cops will say, get it out of there, to promote a false positive just as an excuse to fuck with you. Like he says, the DEA is conniving and ruthless. And if they have a grudge against me, come on, I'm in a legal fucking state. You can't arrest me. And you're not allowed on my property. No trespassing. I will answer the door on Facebook live. If I get any visits, any kind of government-looking official, or even a cop, I will get on Facebook and I will go live. And I will say, hi, I have the cops at my door here. We're going to see what they want. And they cannot tell you to stop filming. You have the right to film the police while they're doing their job. In the case that you might need that as your defense in court. Okay? Go live on Facebook is excellent. Thank you for putting it there, Facebook. It can save many people. Now, I testified as expert witness in Texas State District Court during an evidence suppression hearing. The court released their ruling, but the wording of the order has not been made available, so even though we know the judge suppressed the evidence, meaning we won, we're not sure if it was because of the false alert or the unreasonable amount of time it took for the canine to arrive to the scene. Either way, we kept a non-violent man from going to jail by testifying that police canine handlers can and do abuse the amazing odor detecting skills of dogs to breach the Fourth Amendment. Police canine academies across the U.S. are now alerting their officers to stop this long-time illegal behavior of inducing false alerts or face the possibility of being exposed in court by one of their very own ex-instructors. Me, he says. I am currently retained as an expert witness in a federal civil rights suit involving a physically handicapped man who was handcuffed after a police dog was influenced to a false alert. A search of the vehicle resulted in no drugs being found, but left part of the elderly gentleman's arm permanently paralyzed. We will soon be adding a page to our website that will show the actual videos of these two false alerts, my testimony in court, and the judge's decision. The new web page will also contain footage of genuine canine alerts that could not be fought against in court. Understanding how a canine police dog behaves is helpful in protecting your stash and freedom by eluding police detection and staying out of jail. Even though the dogs can be menacing and used against citizens by police, respect these sensitive animals. Remember, it's not the dog out to hurt you. It's the police officer and the dog handler that pose a threat to your liberty. Be smart and stay safe. www.nevergetbusted.com. That's all I got to say about that. I love Forrest Gump. That movie was awesome. It was awesome. I loved it. Okay. Let me get back to my list here. Alternet, ALTERNET.org. Drugs. 12 of the biggest myths about marijuana debunked. On the half an hour on Tracy and the dogs. I want the president to hear this. I will be tagging him again on the President Patriot Up for Donald Trump America. I will be tagging you, sir, because this is ignorant. And this man has blown the whistle. Canine searches need to be made unconstitutional. Okay? Because these handlers can still do their false things. Okay? Because their camera is in their police vehicle back there. It can't read their lips and it can't hear what they're saying to the dog. So if they get a false positive and they tear your car apart and not one single crumb of marijuana has ever been in your car, go live on Facebook and shame them. Now, 12 myths about marijuana. It says the arguments against legalization simply don't add up. Now this is May 2014, but it's alternet.org by Owen Poindexter. What a name. We used to use that as an against guys. You say you're just such a Poindexter. So, for decades, cannabis opponents controlled the messaging around the popular plant and cultivated any number of lies about its effects. This built up a powerful stigma against marijuana, the effects of which have not worn off. The racist, expensive, and failed U.S. war on drugs continues to rage on. President Trump, Jeff Sessions, Rosenberg of the DEA, listen up. Racist, expensive, and failed war. Harry Anslinger started this shit in 1937 and blamed marijuana on the Mexicans and low-life African Americans. I'm sorry, guys, but that was Aaron Anslinger. He was a frickin' bigot. And because of alcohol prohibition going away, he needed it to keep his job. So he attacked cannabis and hemp and lumped them as the marijuana tax stamp. I told you, to get the stamp, you have to buy the weed and go to the government to get the stamp. Well, you walk in and say, I need a stamp for this weed. They said, oh, you bought the weed? Yes. That was illegal. You're under arrest. Yes, it happened. So, the failed U.S. war on drugs continues to rage on. The criminalization of cannabis users and distributors remains a top priority in that war. And like I said, why aren't you going after the fucking cartels? Why? Why fuck with Americans? Go after the Mexicans and the Southeast Asians that are sending heroin over here. We have cut the cannabis business for the cartels in half, if not more, through 29 states and Washington, D.C. being legalized. Now, Maryland is right there with Washington. Washington's that little square in the middle of it. Okay? D.C.'s legal, Maryland should be legal. And you should not fuck with hemp, especially at 0.06%. You're being ignorant. Maryland police, you're being ignorant. the Maryland legislatures, the state house, representatives, senators. This is bullshit. This is unconstitutional crap. Okay? The 10th Amendment gives me the right to smoke by my state. Why does Sessions want to come after me instead of going after the cartels? Oh, do you know why? Because I'm a legal smoker and it's on record. So he can get to me. Okay? He can't get to the head of the cartels. Okay? They try to put their people in undercover and a lot of them get turned over and killed. Okay? Jeff Sessions, Rosenberger, the DEA, President Trump. Why in the hell aren't they interdicting illegal imports? Legally grown cannabis in a legal medical marijuana state should not have to be afraid of Jeff Sessions and his ignorant fucking bullshit. And I'm sorry about my language, Mr. President, but I'm beyond fucking pissed with this. This is ignorant. Conspiracy. Big Pharma's got money, and they're sticking it in politicians' pockets. I know this for a fact. It's gotta be a fact. Somebody is getting paid off. Doug Ducey could have had hemp farming in Arizona, and it was a boon. The farmers wanted it, the House of Representatives and the state Senate wanted it, and he put a veto on it. And we need the House and Senate of Arizona to undo his veto. You guys have the power. Arizona State Senate. I'll try to tag you somehow and let you know that they should not have this power. So, the government stubbornly still classifies this as a dangerous Schedule I substance with no medical value, despite the stacks of evidence to the contrary. While many acknowledge the truth about cannabis, that it is healthier than alcohol, more effective than pharmaceutical drugs in treating a number of illnesses, and more than half of all Americans want it legalized, 60% at least, half marijuana myths are still repeated in some mainstream circles. Legalization opponents determined to ignore the evidence are grasping to justify their outdated positions. But the evidence is in, and the arguments against legalization do not hold up, as more people feel comfortable discussing the actual facts of marijuana, and the falsehoods that dominated much of the 20th century are dissipating from the zeitgeist. Here are a dozen marijuana myths that persist to some degree today, and the facts that debunk them. Pause. Okay, and I'm back. 43 minutes on the dot. I had to go outside and have a few puffs. I got worked up. I had to cool down, smoke some weed, got my vapes. Let's get into the myths. 12 myths. Try to keep this under an hour and a half. Myth number 1. Stoned driving is as bad as drunk driving. Drunk driving kills 28 people per day in America, according to Mothers Against Drug Driving. Studies have not found similar results for driving while high, and it's not even clear that marijuana even increases the number of traffic accidents. It's not to say it doesn't affect the driving ability. For many people, it does. However, marijuana use is as likely as anything to make people more cautious than usual, which is an asset while driving. This same cautiousness makes some high people opt not to drive at all. Furthermore, as Sanjay Gupta explains in his documentary Weed, daily pot smokers seem to be less impaired on the road after smoking than occasional users. Sanjay Gupta is my choice for Surgeon General of the United States, and he should put the FDA and the DEA on notice and tell the DEA to interdict illegal imports and meth labs in this country. Interdict the coke and the extra marijuana that's still coming in half the country. The heroin from Southeast Asia and maybe South America. I don't know. Going after pot is just so fucking stupid. People do not realize it. I have this 107 today. Is this, what video number is this today? 107. 107 videos, all on marijuana, 2 on kratom. Everything else is all cannabis. And they're all facts. Scientific research, evidence, and proof. Mr. President, Jeff Sessions, DEA, FDA, Big Pharma, Big Oil, OPEC even. Screw y'all. Hemp can make us OPEC independent. Why are we paying these exorbitant high gas bills when we could easily switch everything over to hemp biodiesel that is safer than table salt? And it emits oxygen in the atmosphere instead of smog and pollutants. Smog, not smug. Then we, acre by acre, 1 acre of hemp breathes 4 times the oxygen of 4 acres of trees. Or 1 acre breathes the same as 4 acres of trees. 4 times that. Myth 2. Legalization wouldn't hurt the drug cartels. The most obvious and direct way that legalizing marijuana in the U.S. would save lives is through weakening the cartels. While the U.S. is mostly insulated from the horrors of Sinaloa, Los Zetos, and the other powerful and violent cartels, they are a scourge on Mexico and much of Central and South America. The cartels don't just trade in marijuana. They are essentially armed gangs that will make money in any way they can, including extortion, human trafficking, and selling other drugs and contraband. And estimates put marijuana at 30 to 50% of the cartel's revenue. Legal sellers in the U.S. to effectively steal their largest market, the cartels would continue to exist, but they would be able to fund fewer soldiers and bribe fewer politicians. The bloodshed they visit on each another. Who in the hell is that? I have no idea who the hell you are. Okay. So the cartels would continue to exist. They'd be able to fund the bloodshed they visit on each other, and on countless civilians would be similarly reduced. 3. Marijuana causes brain damage. Number 3. Marijuana causes brain damage. Yes, I like that joke because it fits. It does not cause brain damage. I have smoked since I was 8 years old, with no more than 2 years off here and there. Over 35 years, maybe 40 years of smoking pot. And in the last 5 years, I have never felt a buzz off of pot that is 17.5 times stronger than it was in the 70s when I was started weed. Weed, it was 1 to 5%, and it got us high. No, humans have adapted. Strains have grown, and now we're taking 20 to 30%. And I never feel the euphoria. Like I said, I get down here. I never get here. I don't feel my morphine buzz. I don't feel a pot buzz. Okay? People got to understand that. Cannabis is a medicine. It is not a drug. It is an herb and a vegetable and a flower. And it is food. You can eat the raw leaves. You can juice raw cannabis, and it doesn't get you high. You need heat and or fats and oils to pull the THC out. That's why you make edibles with sugars and fats. Canna butter. Make cannabis butter. Put it in your recipes. Gets you high. Hemp would not do that. And hemp doesn't make good edibles, and it's worthless to smoke. Anyway, marijuana causes brain damage. This one resurfaced lately based largely on one recent study in France. It looked at brains of 20 heavy users and compared them to 20 non-smokers. All participants were 18 to 25. Their brains showed differences in areas related to cognitive and emotional processing. And the media ran with these results claiming that marijuana reorganizes your brain. As the study authors explained, their results do not show this. Rather, they show a correlation with no clear indication whether cannabis changes the brain structure or if people with certain brain structures are more likely to enjoy marijuana. It should also be noted that the sample size of the study is very small and that the study does not examine the long-term effects of cannabis use. And even if cannabis use does cause changes in the brain over time, there is no evidence to show whether these changes are positive or negative. I'm sorry, but if you're a stupid stoner, it's because you're stupid. Just like the anti-weed Nazis, weed ignorant, weediots. It's all on you. Like I've said about addictions, it's you, the addict, that has the problem in your brain. You need to go past marijuana. The stoner counterculture over here of fucking hippies and that, don't. That's not their purpose. It's to live, be healthy, maintain a good weight, blood sugars, cleans your liver, cleans the bloodstream, cleans the brain's neurons to prevent Alzheimer's and reverse it if it starts. And I have gained 35 IQ points over the last 30 years. 1 point a year almost. Don't call me a dope. Don't call me a drug-addled, stupid, walking, red-eyed zombie, drug-addled freak, psychotic, murderous, homicidal bastard. I am not. I don't even enjoy smoking marijuana anymore. For me, it is a chore to take as a medicine. It makes me cough. Even these make me cough when I lay down at night. I'll hit it a little bit. It just helps me go off to sleep without setting the house on fire. Okay? But laying down and breathing this, it'll make me cough. And I only get the pain relief. I don't get the euphoria. Myth number 4. Pot is addictive. I gotta have it. It's anti-addictive. They use it to get heroin addicts off of heroin and methadone. Methadone is synthetic heroin. Why treat an addict with the same type of drug that you're trying to get him off of? Cannabis treats every addiction, from opiates to coffee and chocolate. People get addicted to the anandamide in the chocolate that's also in pot. But pot there's not enough anandamide to, and besides, they smoke to feel good because it makes you healthy. It attaches to your CB receptors all throughout your body and your immune system to keep your body running smoothly. This is a mechanic for your engine. That's what cannabis is. It's a mechanic fixing your broken vehicle. You. Me. A certain number pops up again and again in op-eds about the dangers of marijuana. 9%. That's the number of cannabis users who become dependent, according to a study from the 90s. This would still put marijuana dependence risk comfortably below alcohol at 14% and tobacco at 24%, according to the same study. Additionally, the 9% figure was likely inflated because the study did not account for the marijuana's criminalization. Certain measures of dependence, such as whether someone had spent a great deal of time acquiring the substance, could be the result of criminalization, not addiction. But the study authors ignored this. Clinical trials are being flawed, and they do not need to be done. Cannabis has been proven to cure cancer. It's been proven to kill colds, and everything in between. chronic pain, autoimmune diseases, neurodegenerative diseases, regular degenerative diseases, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, chronic pain syndrome, chronic regional pain simplex, trigeminal neuralgia, PTSD, and I could go on all fucking day. And it's not addictive. Regardless of what percent of cannabis users can be considered dependent, it is clear that heavy cannabis use is far less damaging than heavy use of heroin, cocaine, meth, or alcohol. Number 5. You know what a pot smoker looks like. You've seen that meme I shared with an old hippie, black and white. He's like, dreadlocks, love beads, beard, and it says, don't smoke marijuana unless you want to be, like, happy and shit. People look at that and go, stoner. And right here, from Scooby-Doo's best buddy Shaggy to Cheech and Chong to the legendary Dude in The Big Lebowski, pop culture has the stoner archetype firmly established, and that image persists despite countless examples of cannabis users that don't fit the mold. Me. I used to have hair down to my ass. Now I'm going bald. My hairline's up here. I get just a little bit of hair here. So I shave. I'm not going to be one of those comb-over people where your hair goes flap, flap, flap in the wind, like my dad was. I said, Dad, just go bald. He was still paying $20 for a haircut as he's losing his hair. It's unbelievable. But anyway, that image persists despite countless examples of users that don't fit the mold. It's time we start baking in the likes of Justin Timberlake, George Clooney, Louis C.K., Bill Maher, Lady Gaga, Jennifer Aniston, Morgan Freeman, just to name a few. Bill Murray, a very active proponent for marijuana legalization. Danny DeVito, he doesn't even smoke it. He says even if one does not smoke marijuana, one has to see that prohibition is wrong and it needs to be legalized. And that's just a brief sampling of celebrities who have talked about current usage, and people who have admitted to trying it or even having a prolonged pot phase. Just Google your favorite actor, musician, author, or president, and chances are they fit the bill. You'll notice that most of them don't look or act like Shaggy or the Dude. 6. Pot smokers lack motivation. I've told you about my friend Jack the cook. If you're out there someplace, Jack, how you doing, buddy? I hope you enjoyed the Army. He joined the Army a long time ago. In fact, he should be retired by now, if he was a lifer. But Jack, I used to come in and bring him a doobie, a shorty, and said, go out back and get high. Because he put out excellent, fast, beautiful food on excellent presentations in the plates. He worked best high. He was one who I would almost say is marijuana dependent. But he quit it and dropped it 2 months before he went in the service. So he was peed clean. And he vowed to me to stay off of it as long as he was in the Army. Because I said, I used to smoke in the Army. I've told him all my stories of my time at my permanent party, which is really a party. I says, today's stuff is bad. They will give you a urinalysis by company level. They will line the whole company up. And everybody's got to go in and give a piss sample. That was happening just as I got out back in the 80s. So, lack motivation. Steve Jobs, Apple, multi-billionaire, created Apple out of a garage with Wozniak, the great and all-powerful Woz, the Teletubby on crack. some Dancing with the Stars. But a popular refrain among weed opponents these days is something along the lines of, everyone knows that marijuana makes you lazy. Do we really want to encourage that? Studies have not been able to separate out cannabis-induced laziness from general amotivational syndrome, which 5 to 6% of the population seems to have identifiable difficulties with motivation. Do you see me lacking motivation? No, I am a strong proponent and activist for cannabis, and I post everywhere. In fact, I've been skipping Google+, but YouTube, all my YouTube videos, 107 right here. This is 107. All those YouTube videos tell you the facts. It gives you lists of diseases. I go through the A's, B's, and C's, and I tell you, it's in the title. Everything's titled differently. I don't lack motivation. Yes, I sleep 12 hours a day. 6 at night, 6 during the day. Because just taking a shower today, cleaning the dog poop, and doing some dishes, and rotating our filtered water, which is what we do, so we always have clean filtered water, and a gallon jug and a Brita pitcher, and all that work, and shaving when I'm shaving, this shoulder pops out of joint, and I have to lean up against the shower stall, and you know where the little soap holder is, the little plastic thing, I have to put my elbow in there and push myself up against the wall of the shower to get my shoulder to pop back in, because it pops out while I'm shaving. When I go like this to get behind I do all my shaving with my right hand, because my left arm does not like to go beyond this point. So you can see I can only shave half my head with my left. And my left hand shakes a lot worse than my right. So I stick with just my right hand. Motivation. I am not lazy. Yes, I sleep 12 hours a day because I'm in chronic, severe, and acute pain. I have flare-ups that makes me sweat out this stinky, nasty smelling pain sweat that I call it. It smells like rotten onions. And I have to use an alcohol pad on my armpits and this bergamot lime deodorant that Debbie's got, and it does some good. In fact, I put my cannabis salve under there. I wonder if that'll help. But anyway, it says the popular refrain among weed opponents these days is something along, everyone knows that marijuana makes you lazy. I said that. 5 to 6% of the population have amotivational syndrome. Yes, there are lazy potheads, but there are also lazy people and ambitious potheads. And there is plenty of evidence, including thousands of years of human experience, to show that pot makes you creative, active, and influential rather than lazy. 50 examples are found on this list of the 50 most influential marijuana users. I can't get to the link. Or am I? I have to get back to this. Come on. Let me get back to the myths. Brain damage. Addictive. What a smoker looks like. Motivation. Here we are. Motivation. I got it. The top 50 most influential marijuana users. It says you might be surprised who's on the list. You might be surprised. September 2013. The MPP Marijuana Policy Project released a list of the top most 50 influential marijuana users in the United States. At the top of the list is none other than our hypocrite Commander-in-Chief Barack Obama, who has sent more pot smokers and other nonviolent drug offenders to prison in his 5 years as president than anyone before him. Just below Obama are the media mogul Oprah Winfrey, former President Bill Clinton. Yes, but I didn't inhale. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, TV host Stephen Colbert, Daily Show's Jon Stewart, Jay-Z, Secretary of State John Kerry, business magnate George Soros, and comedian Bill Maher. So much for the notion that stoners are lazy workophobes. The goal here is to dispel the myth that marijuana users are losers who lack motivation and highlight the fact that they are typically productive and oftentimes quite successful, said Mason Tvert, Director of Communications for the Marijuana Policy Project. He says, just as this list demonstrates, many of our nation's most successful citizens have used marijuana. Barack Obama said, when I was a kid, I inhaled frequently. That was the point. Oprah Winfrey asked the last time she smoked marijuana. She goes, 1982. Let's hang out after the show. And this guy said, okay, joke. And she says, Winfrey laughed. I hear it's gotten better. Bill Clinton, I experimented with marijuana a time or two. Clarence Thomas, White House said today that Judge Clarence Thomas, President Bush's Supreme Court nominee, had smoked marijuana while in college. Stephen Colbert, first in high school I smoked a lot of pot, and that's how I got to know the people half in the society of my high school, and we waved at each other over the bong. Then I got to know people by making jokes. Jon Stewart, he says, do you know how many movies I wrote when I was high? Jay-Z, I smoked some weed and that's how I finished Izzo. I guess that's a song. John Kerry, yes, in response to the question, which of you are ready to admit to having used marijuana in the past, he says. George Soros, Nazi, said he tried marijuana, enjoyed it, but it did not become a habit and I've not tasted it in many years. Bill Maher, look, I've never made a secret of the fact that I've tried marijuana about 50,000 times. I'm going to go fast, just names. Bill Gates, George W. Bush, Andrew Cuomo, Rand Paul, Sanjay Gupta, I have tried it, he says, LeBron James, Rush Limbaugh, George Clooney, Michael Bloomberg, he says, you bet I did, and I enjoyed it. Lady Gaga, she says, I smoke a lot of pot when I write music. Brad Pitt, I was hiding out from the celebrity thing. I was smoking way too much. Marijuana. Ted Turner, says CNN anchor Gwen Scott claimed it is common knowledge that Turner sits in his office and smokes marijuana. Tom Brokaw, what I did was experiment with a little marijuana like a lot of other people and walked away. Michael Phelps, 9 gold medals, surpassing Mark Spitz by 3. The most medals ever won by one single Olympian in his sport. 9 gold medals. Phelps firmly denies that he takes drugs, suggesting the notorious photo of him smoking from a bong was a one-time lapse of judgment. I think he smokes regular. It helps with the wind. And that helps the swimmer. Jennifer Aniston, I enjoy it, present tense, once in a while. There's nothing wrong with it. Everything in moderation. I wouldn't call myself a pothead. David Letterman, Morgan Freeman says never give up the ganja. Had a car accident. He's got fibromyalgia in his left arm. And he says that without marijuana, I would be in intense pain. But we overlook it because he's a star. I posted something about if a football player says he's for marijuana for athletes, everybody's like, Justin Bieber gets busted for drugs and what the fuck happens? Everybody's like, oh, he's just a kid. No, he's a spoiled fucking brat, Bieber. Angelina Jolie, Martha Stewart, Seth MacFarlane, John Hickenlooper. Who the hell is that? As I've already been open about in the past, I assume if you know John Hickenlooper, look him up. Andrew Sullivan. He was busted in July for possessing a small amount of weed within the Cape Cod National Seashore. Susan Sarandon. Cocaine didn't interest me, not at all. I'm way, way back in the early pot times. Conan O'Brien. I've tried pot, doesn't do much for me. Matt Damon. The first time I smoked was at home with my mother and stepfather. Lincoln Chaffee. In 1999, Warwick Mayor Lincoln D. Chaffee won accolades for his honesty in acknowledging he used marijuana and cocaine as a 1970s student at Brown University. Very good writer, Maya Angelou, settled into a job as a waitress and began smoking marijuana with abandon. Justin Bieber both confirmed he'd been caught weed and apologized. Sarah Palin. I can't claim a Bill Clinton and say that I never inhaled. Phil Jackson, the Mavericks head coach. 1975 he wrote Maverick, a memoir about his days playing in the NBA. Among other things, he spoke frankly about marijuana use. 41. Johnny Depp. I'm not a great pothead or anything like that, but weed is much, much less dangerous than alcohol. Madonna. And says my behavior on a show in 1994 wasn't because I was excited about you, David Letterman. I think it may have had something to do with the joint I smoked before I came on. Robert Downey Jr. started smoking weed at age 8, just like me. I got into coke, but I quit coke. I tried heroin and quit it. No withdrawals, nothing, because I was smoking marijuana. Bryan Cranston. Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus said, you know you're a stoner when your friends make you a Bob Marley cake. Hugh Hefner. Smoking helped put me in touch with the realm of the senses. Rihanna. Kush rolled, glass full. I prefer the better things. Oliver Stone. I went to Vietnam and I was there for a long time. Using marijuana made the difference between staying human or, as Michael Douglas said, becoming a beast. Rick Steves. I've used cannabis all over the world. Snoop Lion, formerly Snoop Dogg. Of course. He says it makes me feel the way I need to feel. So, that was motivation. Let's get back to myth number 7. I can get all 12 in here. Smoking pot is worse for your lungs than cigarettes. This is another one people like to rattle off when discussing the grave dangers of marijuana. Marijuana has never killed anybody. The majority of people who get lung cancer have never smoked anything. Cigarettes actually puts a coating of tar on your lungs and it protects you from smog and pollutants on getting into your bloodstream. And when you hack it up, you're hacking up all that shit. And cannabis helps you expel smut, pollutants, tar and nicotine from the cigarettes. Cannabis helps. Smoking helps your lungs. And it does not lead to lung cancer. Occasional low cumulative marijuana use was not associated with adverse effects on pulmonary function. Of course, it does not touch the autonomic nervous system where pulmonary function is regulated. Makes me crazy. It says that's not to say smoking marijuana has no adverse effects. But nobody has ever died in 10,000 years. Sorry. The crucial difference may be one of quantity. All but the heaviest pot smokers don't average more than a couple of joints or bowls a day, whereas pack-a-day cigarette smokers are not particularly uncommon. Whatever the reason, cannabis users seem to end up with healthier lungs than cigarette smokers. On top of all that, there are plenty of ways to ingest cannabis without any smoke. Eat it, drink it, inhale as a vapor, take it in a tablet, or rub it on your skin as a lotion or oil. Marijuana turns teenagers into troublemakers. I'm sorry, but we didn't want to get in trouble when we got stoned. My twin buddies back in New York, D&D, we weren't troublemakers. Yeah, once in a while we were walking by the liquor store and the beer guy had left the side up on his truck and we grabbed a couple 6-packs. And I used to steal cigarettes, because cigarettes used to be in front of the counter. Back in the 70s, the cigarettes were over here. We had a smoking porch at the high school. This myth combines some science regarding early drug use with the remnants of the reefer madness anti-weed propaganda of the past. It is the idea that good kids can turn bad under the influence of cannabis. This silliness doesn't hold up whatsoever under scrutiny. A 1980 study of 10,000 high school juniors and seniors found that marijuana use is one out of a host of unconventional behaviors which correlates with each other. In other words, some adolescents are more rebellious, some would say independent, than others, and these kids are more likely to smoke pot and drink. But pot doesn't turn anyone into a delinquent. Myth 9. Cannabis use leads to crime. No. The cartels. That's crime. Marijuana is not a crime. Especially if we can keep it in the United States and put the cartels' marijuana out of business. Legalize hemp farming for CBD, medicines, and the 50,000 plus industrial applications to the hemp plant. Get this, really quick factoid. The mention of hemp, I've told you, Washington, Jefferson, Ben Franklin, Abe Lincoln, and a host of past presidents, vice presidents, smoked the sweet hemp, cannabis, and grew industrial hemp for paper. Everybody thinks the American Revolution was started with the Boston Tea Party and the Boston Massacre. No. It was freedom from hemp, or freedom from using English paper shipped over from Britain. That was the basis to the American Revolution, because everybody was growing hemp for paper. So we said, we don't need your paper, King George. Here come the troops. Cannabis leads to crime. This is easily debunked, but the desire of some people and groups to demonize marijuana has kept this idea around longer than it deserves. It is easy enough to find statistics that seem to tie marijuana use with crime, but these rely on a roundabout spin of an analysis. Essentially, the association with cannabis and crime comes from the fact that cannabis itself is illegal. A Norwegian study found that the laws, not the drugs, were to blame. The study suggests that cannabis use in adolescence and early adulthood may be associated with subsequent involvement in criminal activity. However, the bulk of this involvement seems to be related to various types of drug-specific crime. Thus, the association seems to rest on the fact that use, possession, and distribution of drugs, such as cannabis, is illegal. The study strengthens concerns about the laws related to the use, possession, and distribution of cannabis. Other research backs up this basic conclusion. A borough in London depenalized pot for a year, and a subsequent study found that crime rates dropped. Really, this should not seem too profound. Stoned people are more likely to stay home and watch a movie than suddenly decide to rob a store. As with alcohol in the first half of the 20th century, it is prohibition itself that leads to crime, not the substance that is being prohibited. Mr. President, Jeff Sessions, Doug Ducey of Arizona, Rosenberg, DEA, FDA, Big Pharma, all of you, oil-based plastic manufacturers, hemp is going to knock your ass out. And by God, I'm going to push for it. 10. Marijuana leads to harder drugs. I was on OxyContin before I got morphine and pot together. I was a fucking mess. On top of that, my psychiatrist was playing with me and giving me loads, handfuls. I was taking handfuls of pills every day. 10 to 12 pills just in the morning. Venlafaxine, Klonopin. Oxycontin, and Seroquel. I'm still on the Seroquel because it works without those other ones. Morphine, Seroquel, Valium, amitriptyline. Very long-term, well-known, well-used, and I did my research. They're the safest thing I can take, and this makes it even safer because I do not feel the addictiveness of the morphine. So, I'm taking the hard drugs with my cannabis, and I don't get high. Morphine brings me here, pot brings me here, euphoria is down here. I don't get euphoria. I don't get high. I don't enjoy smoking as much as I used to. I said that before, sorry. Let me get back to this. The gateway effect, it is popularly known, is still a favorite counterpoint to the notion that cannabis itself isn't so bad. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker cited the gateway effect in an interview in February, noting that Wisconsin sheriffs said when they talked about heroin and meth and other issues that they were still very concerned that marijuana was a gateway drug. Indeed, almost everyone who tries those hard and often disastrous drugs did marijuana first. They also probably got drunk at least a few times in their lives before trying heroin. Yet no one calls alcohol a gateway drug. What's actually going on is that some people are generally more interested in mind-altering drugs, and marijuana is the most popular and available illegal drug. If marijuana caused harder drug use, we would not see results such as those in a recent survey from NIDA, National Institute on Drug Abuse. Instead, the study found that marijuana use had increased in recent years among adolescents, but heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine use has all dropped. Myth 11. The jury is still out on marijuana's medicinal effects. One would think that around half of the states in the U.S. having some sort of medical marijuana laws would have quieted this one, but some opponents still take solace in the federal government's continuing refusal to acknowledge any medicinal use of cannabis. Though they make Sativex and Marinol, they're synthetic pharmaceuticals that only have specific little functions. You need everything in the marijuana plant to work on your body for homeostasis. And heavy doses of CBD with THC to cure cancer. And stay away from chemo and radiation that fucks you up. It just messes you up. And chemo and radiation stays in your body for life. Well, you know what? The endocannabinoid system is in our bodies from birth, and we are tied to these plants. They belong in our system. So the jury's out on medicinal. Some opponents still take solace in the federal government's continuing refusal to acknowledge the medical use. The reality is that cannabis is something of a wonder drug. The majority of American medical doctors think marijuana should be legal, according to a WebMD survey in April of whenever this was. Get back to the beginning, I forgot. 2014, March. Now let's get back down to where I was. Latest crime, harder drugs, jury's out. Okay? So April 2014, and with good reason. It alleviates the symptoms related to chemotherapy, AIDS, certain cancers, and especially glaucoma. I told you about Debbie with the hemp oil. Had the gray circle of cataracts starting. Went away. Her eyes watered. It was the intraocular pressure leaving. The gray ring left her eye. It's not come back. As long as she stays on the hemp oil. That the Maryland police just stole from Tracy, and CBD hemp saved me. I'm so freaking pissed off at the Maryland police. Actually, the police officers themselves were very nice to Tracy, and they didn't think it was fair. But they had the warrant to search and seize. So, AIDS, certain cancers, glaucoma. Marijuana's ability to help people with certain debilitating seizure disorders inspired a number of mostly conservative states to adopt highly restrictive medical cannabis laws. Cannabis is effective medicine for millions of people, and legalizing it would provide more of them to access it. Myth 12. The closing myth. Opposition to cannabis legalization is driven entirely by cautious prudence. No, these people are not cautious or prudent. They will stop at nothing to lie and scare people wrongly away from cannabis like it's the most evil fucking drug on this earth. No, that's heroin. That is the single most dangerous narcotic. Cannabis starts off as acids and terpenes that enter your body, drop their acid markers, and become hydrocarbons. The basic building blocks of our bodies. Hydrocarbons. Our bodies need these. The clinical endocannabinoid deficiency is a real viable disease, or it's a marker of the disease process. I feel sick. Let's check your cannabinoids. You don't have any. You need more. Start with some hemp. Move to a legal medical marijuana state. Or if your doctor wants to get up and fight in court against your state's Supreme Court, get it legalized. So, anyway, this is fueled by industries that figure to lose profits should cannabis become legal and widely available. Alcohol, tobacco, pharmaceuticals, cotton. All billion-dollar industries. Cosmetics, soap, shampoos. And it's less expensive for them to pay into politicians' campaign funds for them to face a strong competitor. One by one, these myths are falling away. The faster they do, the sooner we will be able to enjoy cannabis laws and regulations based on common sense, peer-reviewed evidence, and public health. With momentum towards legalization as great as it has ever been since cannabis was criminalized in the 30s, vanquishing these myths could finally end one of the United States' most senseless and harmful policies. President Trump, most senseless and harmful policies. Unbelievable. So that was the 12. I can delete that. I still have 6 more websites to go over. Tomorrow, Friday, 2 more videos. I'll be talking about myths, culture, myths busted, myths up in smoke, 10 common myths, and whatever else I might find online. I might just happen to run across something that, just one of my tangents, one of my rants that I go off topic and say, this is bullshit, and this is fucked up, okay? I'm gonna go outside and finish this today. I need another cigarette. Light off. Oh, god damn it, that hurts. Oh. Saved our pine cone. It looks like a little Christmas tree. Put some glitter on it and that'll be our Christmas tree. We don't do Christmas trees. And we don't do Christmas except for giving ourselves presents. Oh my god. Oh, it hurts, man. And it especially hurts that my friend Tracy is having her business interdicted over this 0.03% of THC. So, Maryland, yes, you got a 0% tolerance. Even 300ths or 600ths of a percent is illegal according to you. Well, Mr. Maryland police, legislatures, mayors, governor Excuse my language, but you're all fucked up. 29 American states and Washington, D.C. have decriminalized, legalized, or just medical, or all recreational. What does that tell you? It needs to be legalized. All of my videos talk about how cannabis and cannabinoids enter our bodies and attach to our endocannabinoid systems to promote health, happiness, a pleasant aura, and an excellent feeling and a quality of life. Damn it all, get out of here, fly, bee. I hate bees, I hate bees. We have EpiPens in case I get stung. One day I was whipping at this bee and I got up and I went like this and I went inside, sat down, and he was crawling right here on my shorts. In fact, there he is again. Get out of here. Sorry. I hate him. I've only been stung once. I think I was 11 or 12. But anyway, I got off topic. Where was I? You can't tell me. Oh yeah, Maryland police. Look at the rest of the country. All of you states that have not legalized, and you people that live in those states that have not legalized yet, I hope you share my videos with your state legislatures. Because I've got the proof, I've got the facts, I have the research, and because of the internet, I have the power, as all of us have the power, to see the facts and to see the truths and to realize that we have been lied to. All because people think cannabis is the evil, the devil's weed. It is all bullshit. Christians Against Drugs, I've told you before that they posted this thing about dabs being injected in the eyes and killing thousands of teenagers across the world. And this post had 200 or 300 likes on it. I don't even know how the hell it appeared on my timeline, but I blocked that shit after I copied that picture. It said it's the devil's semen is in dabs. And dabs are just nothing but highly concentrated cannabis oils and gooey paste that you need high heat blowtorch to smoke. And it's concentrated. I've showed you my hash. I take the little piece of hash. One hit, one long inhale, works on me like an entire bowl off of my bong. That good. Dabs are nothing but concentrated beyond the hash point. Like my oils, my vapes. Okay? They were CO2 extracted. Carbon dioxide. What's in soda? That's how they got the THC out of it. Think. Stop. Listen. Think again. This group, Cannabis Education for Everyone, is where I'm starting all my posts because it is my only open group. Because I'm not getting blocked by Facebook by some assholes turning me in for a picture that has had no business being a reason for having me blocked for 24 hours last week. A week ago Tuesday. It was bullshit. It was a picture of my stash that I shared with everybody from my dispensary trip. I showed you all my bags, my hash, my vapes. I just showed a picture of my stash. They turned me into as violating the community standards. Okay? How about people like Christians Against Drugs lying outright? Okay? Block them. They're lying. They're perpetuating the myth that cannabis is an evil drug. and a narcotic. And it's not, people. Now, I got very irate in the beginning of this because I like Tracy. I love her. She's my sister. Better than my blood sister. And I respect her. You want to go in? Hold on. Good girl. Oh, God, that hurt. So, I'm out here. An hour and a half. We went over 12 myths and my rant about the police dogs and everything. So I think we've covered some good shit today. So when I share this video, I will be tagging the president again on my President Trump page. Patriot of America for Donald Trump. And Patriot for Donald Trump America. Okay? It's beyond the ridiculous for the continued prohibition of cannabis. It's way beyond time to get big pharmaceutical companies off of our asses because cannabis is the safest medicine, and hemp makes the safest medicine, food, animal bedding, safe plastics, durable plastics, body cars that are stronger than steel, 2 kinds of biodiesel, methanol or ethanol, which will require very little changeovers in some people's gas tanks, and it emits oxygen. Oh my God, a car exhaust that emits oxygen. Imagine passing your state's emissions test every year. We had to take my truck in. Okay, you can see it. My pickup. Our pickup. Only Debbie can drive it now. I don't. But they stick a thing up your tailpipe and they measure the carbon monoxide and pollutants coming out. And after you hit 20 years old, your car is 20 years old, they don't even ask you. They don't make you get an emission test. Older cars put out more smog. Okay, so we've seen the backwards ass things that this country has been doing. We need to think. And we need to stop and think again. Because the prohibition of an herb and a vegetable that does nothing but promote health and well-being in the patient, and the prohibition of which is beyond ignorant. It is. It is beyond the ignorant. I don't know if you can see me. I'll turn this on again. I have it up closer to me, though. Because I want to talk calmly. Where I didn't talk calmly earlier. We need the president to live up to his campaign promise. To leave medical marijuana programs alone. Get the DEA and the Department of Justice to go after the cartels and quit wasting time and money eradicating wild-growing hemp, because those are habitats for endangered species. And our National Guard and the DEA takes the National Guard out and says this is all pot. It's not. It's hemp, and it's wild-growing, and it's a habitat for animals, and we're destroying their habitat. It's just as much akin to what we are doing to the rainforest. The Brazilian rainforest is lost 80% of its trees. 80%. And like I've said, 27,000 trees are sacrificed every day on the altar of toilet paper for wiping our asses. And it's freaking ridiculous to keep hemp paper away from us. And like I said, the American Revolution, the word hemp has been scrubbed from the history books. The Smithsonian does not even mention it, even though our founding fathers denied English paper and started the American Revolution. Everybody says it's the Tea Party and the Declaration of Independence that did it. It's not. It was freedom from English paper, from wood. Because we found hemp here, and they grew it and made their own paper, and they told King George to fuck off. So, those of you who want to perpetuate the myths, go back and listen to the rest of this video. Go back to where I started on the myths. Go all the way back to the beginning where I talked about my CBD friend and the ridiculousness of 0.03% difference in THC. The dogs would have got a hit off of the 0.03%. And why? Because the handlers mostly tell them to. Go on, get it, get it, get it. Get it out of there. This Texas narcotics officer blew the lid off of it. And I found that this morning, and it just raised my blood pressure. And the fact that Maryland is ignorant when DC is right there, legalized. New York, New Jersey, some other New England states, and down the East Coast, Eastern Seaboard, more states are legalizing. Over here in the West, a lot of stuff's getting legalized. Arizona. New Mexico just started. Nevada had a problem. They did not foresee how big their market would be, and they ran out of product. They got sold out quickly before the new crops could be brought in. So people are now having to wait. And the DEA telling they're going to come after medical marijuana people who are legally scripted by doctors who have been okayed by the AMA and the laws in the state of Arizona or whatever state has legalized it for medical. If you're a legally prescripted pain and marijuana patient, you should not have to be worried about your friggin' government attacking you and trying to put you in jail for doing something that your doctor prescribed you. Doctors prescribe morphine and Oxycontin all the frickin' time. What happens? The government doesn't do shit. And these opiates drive people to suicide, overdoses, and all kinds of other shit. And what do? They go after pot. Pot does not belong in Schedule 1 narcotics. Pot is not a narcotic. Hemp is not a narcotic. If cannabis were a narcotic, my morphine brings me here, well then, the pot should bring me here. But I don't get here. I don't feel the euphoria down here. I'm up here still. 4 or 5 pain. A hard 4 is my floor. That's it. I can't get any less than 4 out of a 10 scale on pain. And that's considered distressing. Look up the comparative pain scale and read what number 4 is. And then number 5. And then look at number 9. That's where I was an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago almost, when I got out of the shower. I was a number 9. From shaving and showering. 20 minutes in the shower, and I need 6 hours of sleep right now. I gotta put the title in. And, I'm sorry folks, I punched in my title. My tablet has a new keyboard that has predictive text because they updated it, and my predictive text went away. So I had to download the Kika keyboard, Kika. And they have all kinds of different themes. Well, I got this one, nice one, but the predictive text on it is sketchy. And I put in my title, and I says, trying to look at both sides of the coin. Well, it came out with poo Yes, my wife laughed herself all the way to bed last night over that. She kept going, poo. I'm sorry, folks, but that's looking. I wanted to look at both sides of the coin. So, let's close this out. President Trump, Jeff Sessions, Chuck Rosenberg, Doug Ducey of Arizona, we need hemp farming. Stop vetoing it. Are you bought off by the cotton industry? We're in a drought in Arizona. We've been in a drought the whole time I've lived here, 35 years. Except for a few years off and on. Military. 35 years. And the cotton crops here use twice the water of hemp. You only get 2 crops, and then you have to replenish the soil with Milo or corn or some kind of feed stock for animal feed, for cattle. Because we got cattle out here that they use them to graze over fields that are overgrown with weeds. People ship in sheep, cattle, and goats because they get rid of all the grass. It's just beyond stupid. We need hemp here. It's jobs. It's industry. It's revenue for the state. Medical marijuana is already revenue for the state because we're putting money in the schools. There should be no more ballot initiatives on the upcoming elections to refund the schools with more money because the cannabis money goes to them. Now tell me that's bad. If we're using a medicine legally, according to state law, we're using this legally, and to deny it is wrong. And to perpetuate the myths and the propaganda from shit like Reefer Madness is beyond the ridiculous, and it needs to be stopped. And we need the president. President Trump, we need you. Please. We're begging you, please. Get these people off their soapboxes. They don't know what they're talking about. I have the facts in 106 videos prior to this. All facts. Watch a few of my videos. My older ones, they're short, 30 minutes. Now I'm getting up into an hour and a half to 2 hours. But that's because I have got a lot to say constantly about cannabis. Because every day I find something new. And what I found out today about the drug sniffing dogs, that's horrendous. That's the police acting illegally, and they're breaking constitutional law. Because they're fucking with the 4th Amendment. And they're trying to force a reason to find so much as one seed in your car so that they can haul your ass to jail and fulfill their fucking quota. It's bullshit and it's wrong. Okay? Maryland police, give Tracy her shit back. This is not psychoactive. There is not enough THC to get a fly high. Okay? Get off your high horses and your soapboxes. You do not fart unicorn rainbows and sunshine out your asses. You're shitting on people. You're literally taking a dump on the American public and saying that you don't deserve to use this medicine that has been proven to have so many medicinal values to it. It's beyond the ridiculous. President Trump, help us. Pardon my earlier outbursts. I wasn't directing it at you. I'm directing it at the anti-weed Nazis and the weediots. These people who think these myths are true, and they perpetuate it. It's beyond time for a paradigm shift in the medical community, and Big Pharma needs to be put on notice that all these pharmaceuticals the FDA approves as safe for us. And they tell it in the commercials, ask your doctor for FDA approved this. And then a year later, the FDA says it's dangerous to us. You told it was safe. Then they pull it off the market because it's not. And lawsuits are being filed. Right now there's lawsuits being filed, and I've seen the same drug advertised within a half an hour of the law commercial. Which means they're still pushing the fucking drug. OMG, people. It's just freaking ridiculous. It's beyond ignorant. That's why I call these people weediots and anti-weed Nazis. They haven't the slightest freaking idea what's going on. President Trump, you have a son who would benefit from hemp. Non-addictive, non-psychoactive hemp will help your son. Fact. Truth. Scientific proof. It's on the internet. Don't believe your cabinet members. They are biased. Only believe them if they say they support cannabis. Because if they don't support cannabis, they believe in reefer madness and they believe the propaganda. It's time to teach people a different way to think about cannabis and hemp. We need hemp industry to save the trees, save this planet, save the ozone layer from the smog and pollutants we're putting out by utilizing safe, green hemp and cannabis for PTSD. We're spending $1 billion a day to send boys and girls to war. And they're coming back here all fucked up. Because I've said before, even our women are over there, and you never know when you're going to run by an IED that blows your legs off. Okay? Living in that constant fear, these people come home messed up in the brain, and cannabis is the best alternative for them to get through their PTSD. And they deserve to be given it for free from the VA, from the federal growing of cannabis and hemp for medicine. Mr. Trump, President, please get in on the bandwagon. Hemp farming across America will be revenue, jobs, industry, drops unemployment, drops crime rates, and it heals people. That's it. Big Pharma kills, cannabis kills, and we're nothing. Us weed smokers are a danger to nothing except a bag of Cheetos, and that's it. That's it, folks. Peace, love, truth, and happiness. It's time to free the Cannabaceae from the family. Free the Cannabaceae family from the prison of ignorance. Thank you.